tapping in. Are we live?
Starting us off on To Stumble Upon, Miles Xavier, a show of ours that we're both very much fans of, which is the Joe Budden podcast, has recently been going through what we could describe potentially as a tumultuous time. The two hosts of the show, Rory and Mal, have left the show seemingly, have not been in for the past couple of weeks. Not to make it sound like a news bulletin that we're reading. However, it is important to acknowledge that this is the biggest Black podcast that there is out there right now. It is exactly the Joe Budden podcast. It is as much of a cultural phenomenon as it is a podcasting and business phenomenon. So it fits in describing it in a business-like manner, because business is potentially at the crux of what this separation might be.
Exactly. And where it comes into our conversation about friendship and businesses, it's also a show that I think they've expressed to their audience, but also is tangible to their audience, that they're a deeply connected group of individuals. You know what I mean? Maybe not day ones in the truest sense, but people that care about each other and have true relationships and true friendships outside of the podcast. And I think that it's a great opportunity to discuss what it means to have friends in business, what it means to try and navigate that, and how things can get a little funny the more commas is involved.
Yeah. I don't think even the complications of friends in business starts when the money arrives, right? There's a lot of things to take into consideration before stepping into a relationship with friends. At least I'm experiencing, right? And as I was saying and alluding to earlier, we do business together. You know, we both run a foundation that is geared towards digitizing disenfranchised communities, bringing in labs and computers, feeding people. There's things that are happening that we're doing on an organizational structure. So that constitutes as friends as business. And as you put it, this podcast is part of it too. But what allows this to work outside of obviously the luck that we have in being the friends that we're being, in knowing each other for as long as we're knowing each other? Like, what different contingencies do people even have to consider before going into being business with their friends?
Yeah, well, I think in our particular case, there's a lot of and I'm sure in a lot of people feel like there's an organic start to how we came to be in business together, right? We met at university in a space where we both managed to have a lot of fun, learn a lot about ourselves, but also there was this underlying foundation of work to be done, achievements to, reach, and accolades that we both individually wanted to achieve. And so I think our relationship was built on a foundation of we gonna kick it, and also we gonna be at the library posted up, no lechuga burritos. We're gonna give y'all some game about that a little bit later. You know what I mean? At Ace's Library at U of I. So I think luckily for us, sharing that work time, checking each other's work naturally involved both in the way that our careers gravitated toward service and in the way that our skills became more and more of service to each other as we continued to grow. And so I think that organic foundation has allowed it to grow into many opportunities, including Mandulo, including this podcast, and including just like everything from resume cleanup, I feel like, to how to manage both with hard skills and with mental health in a corporate environment. A lot of that we've leaned on and learned together. So I think it's been a growth of two parallel career trajectories intersecting in a way that seems almost inevitable at this point. And my point earlier about commas is that I feel like that friendship can allow you to rely on an intrinsic dynamic so long that it doesn't really get funny, and you can overlook certain things that you might not overlook with strictly business people until we talk about real money, people's livelihoods, people's reputations, and people's opportunities going forward.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And highlighting the I like how you highlight the organic nature of it, right? We never rushed to get into business with each other. You know, we've known each other for a very, very long time. Now, granted, we might have moved some things from point A to point B for a certain fee. That it doesn't it doesn't constitute as a business, I say. But outside of this relationship, right, and outside of our professional and friendship relationship, people, I see the hesitation of getting into business with your friends, right? Because the lines that usually you'd be able to draw when it comes to straight employees outside of just friends would be a more clearer line that you can draw. But then when you introduce friends, things such as discipline become something that's difficult to impart. Things such as reprimanding, um, payments, raises, decreases in raises, right? The familiarity that friends can have can sometimes even tilt the balance of power within the organization, given who gets preferences over things or who seem to get preferences over things. There's a lot of things to take into consideration when people move into business together, when friends particularly move into business together. And then same thing with family, right? It's I can if I fire you from the job, am I still allowed at the Christmas dinner?
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough, and I think a lot of that, uh, you're almost, and it's tough to put it this way, but you're almost like you're taking a chance on the trust of the relationship, right? The trust is the currency that makes all of that other stuff, at least for a lot of us, subconsciously forgivable, right? The fact that this person may not move in the way that I might expect another coworker or another peer to move if we strictly had a professional relationship.
Mm.
But my friendship or my kinship, right, us being family, allows me to trust that person in a way that I wouldn't ordinarily, and sometimes I wouldn't ordinarily trust other people. And sometimes that trust is the very thing that uh, allows that to greases the wheels of that business between friends and family, but also when it's broken in the context of business, it also gets broken in the context of friendship and family. And that's
Yeah,
what's really hard, you know?
yeah. The stakes.
Hard to separate that. I want to at the dinner, to your point, I want to talk to you about why you fired me. That's what's on my mind. You know what I mean? And now that leaks into the space of family and everybody else who's at that, hypothetical table.
Yeah, and the mindset that I go the mindset that I've started to adopt now in terms of the manner in which I carry business and the people that I choose to carry business with. Uh, I'm fortunate to be in a position where I can make the decision of wanting to do something, not based on what its financial value is going to be, but what its intrinsic value is going to be. What's its impact value? Does it fuel my passion? Does it interest me? Is it something that keeps me motivated to learn and work more, right? And given that that is the mindset in which I choose the type of business to go into, the people that I choose to go into business with as well are people that I believe you can go through the trenches with, right? People that, because things are going to get tough. Like that is business. Things will get tough. It's how do you handle toughness around this thing that we're both passionate about? Can I rely on you when things are when the shit hits the fan, for lack of a better term, right? When things really get serious, how do you react? What are your instincts? And if I can trust that with somebody, then friendship or no friendship, I that's what I'd go for.
That's a really important thing to point out, right? And I think that somebody being a close friend or family may have meant that you've never argued with that person before, and in other cases it can mean that you have been through the trenches with that person before. So if you're going into business and you think about that relationship and it seems like that relationship has always been good and it hasn't really ever been tested, it may not be ready to be inserted into business. But if you've been through some things with this person, if y'all have both, and it ain't been looking so good, and you liked how that person was able to move in that scenario and carry forward, uh, that's hugely important, right? On a smaller scale, that's why they say it's important to travel with your partner. That translates from
Yeah.
business to all types of relationships, right? Go through some with somebody before you really know if you're before you assign them a position in your life, whether that's emotional or professional, where you're depending on them, and you have to, and it's all trust, and that's what it is.